bigger. Blessed with big classrooms to start with, that's going to be
ladies and gentlemen, we lost the guest right now. I know she is trying to reconnect. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You're back, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because I apparently my network must be quite poor. I keep going in and out. I don't know what's going on.
Yes, ma'am.
So hopefully you can hear me well now.
Yes, ma'am.
So also saying we have to separate what would be normal of challenges to now talking about post-school. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm still hearing you, ma'am.
Okay, good. Because it just keeps fluctuating. So we have that as a situation we need to pay attention to. We have to be more conscious of the social distancing, being able to provide the kind of space where the children will be safe. And then, of course, there are all the other things, like I said, when we sum up all that we need in our school systems, it will be funding. I'm sure if everyone had enough funding, there are lots of things people will want to do. So that is an issue in our schools, but basically, most schools work towards ensuring, number one, that at least you are adequately provided with all the things you need, tables and chairs and that. And then, of course, the teachers. Almost everywhere now, both private and public schools, government is now being a little more intentional about ensuring that people use only trained teachers. Hello, I hope I'm still
Yes, you're still connected. You're still connected, yes.
So we know we are using more, people are being forced, I mean, by government officials now, because there's a lot of, if you won't get an approval if you don't follow certain standards. So there is that. And then the ability of schools to get the right teachers for the right subject is also an issue. But people get teachers, and I always tell people, take in your teachers and then do your training for yourself. For those of us in mission schools, of course, you will have to train your own staff to appreciate what your mission expects of you.
Okay.
So that is what I would say about that. I would expect other questions will bring out other things.
Yeah. So even though we lost so many of your response, but about the school reform. You said something about the government rules that they have given to for any school that want to reopen right now. So they have a list of recommended things that the school have to do in getting prepared for reopening right now. Now, one of the things that I see in Nigeria during this COVID, the moment the COVID happened here, or in some other countries, they send all the students back home. Do you have anything like online school?
Oh, definitely. Our schools have been, okay, Femi, our schools were closed down as far back as March 20th.
Right.
And we haven't now. Only in at the start of August, government allowed the final year students, that is those in SS3, that is for the WAEC exam students, to return to school. So the only students in school as I speak are the students writing their West African examinations. And then, of course, state governments then allowed the junior secondary school students who are sitting for their basic education certificate exam. So they too are in school. And you know, the basic certification, the basic education certificate is for junior school students. It's a state-based exam, but some of us private schools are allowed to take it, to take the federal exam meant for the federal schools. So what we have done is state schools states will allow schools, private schools, to resume. So we have resumed both our JS3s and our SS3s. They are the only ones in school at the moment. So the rest of the school, not primary, secondary school, and tertiary institutions in Nigeria, still closed. We haven't resumed at all.
Yeah, but do you have any online class for them? Did they go to a class online? Like,
sorry.
Did you get me? Yeah.
Hello?
Do you have any online class for them? Like here, when they close the school, they move all the classes to online, whereby teachers and the pupils are just meeting online, they're doing their work online. So they completed the school year online with their teacher, including some of the school high school that are graduating too as well. They have to do virtual graduations and everything. So when your school, when the school got closed in Nigeria, do you have any kind of another sort of means whereby the student can actually connect back to their schoolwork online?
Okay, well, a lot of schools went online, even some of the public. What we have done, recognizing the fact that not all Nigerians can afford the kind of devices you need to be able to join. Let me talk about what the country did, the public sector. What did various states on television? Because you will agree with me, at least if there's one thing most Nigerians have, they have television box. So they can actually watch their state television. And so, for example, in Ogun State, where my school is located, and Lagos State, which is very close, they went on and they ran lessons from in the morning till 2 p.m. And everybody, all were encouraged to join in. Now, those of us in our mission school, CRS, we decided to do at least 1 hour every day for about 4 days. We had lessons on air for both junior school and senior school. And I happened to work quite a bit well, because I spoke to people from as far away as Maiduguri, Kanu, Koma Hills. I don't know if you know where Koma Hills are. The Koma Hills is in Tamawa State.
Yes, okay.
The middle belt of Nigeria.
All right.
You know, in the middle of Nigeria, Adamawa Hills. Sorry, Adamawa, that's, you get to Yola and then you go to the hills. That's a very, very, very remote place. They have only been reached, only reached in year 2000.
Wow.
We happen to have a mission, and we have a school. And I was able to speak with the principal the head of the primary school. And I was asking, well, how are we doing with our children since there is a, the down viewing period. And one of the things that we're doing is to open up the church building and allow the children from the villages and attend to lessons if they can. Or what they did was to produce lessons on paper, and then the teachers would, motorbikes, which is the only means into up the hill to where most live in their various clusters. They live in clusters and have assignments, and then they'll come those assignments. Almost in every one of states, at least I know personally, because I spoke to quite a few of the heads of schools, where they felt the children could not afford to join the school online, they made alternate arrangements to help them. It wasn't as it should be, but it was an effort. For example, at our school, Christ the Redeemer School, in fact, my children went on air as early as the 5th of March, simply because I'm used to, being in touch with my friends during the holidays. Ever since we had the case of Ebola, if you remember in 2014, we had something like schools could not resume.
Yes, yes.
So we, at the time, we already set up, established with our a system by we could always contact us to give assignments, to have teachers discuss and get their feedback. So it's easy for us to immediately get back online. So we were long before most people even thought about it, and we stayed online up until the end of June. To the children, what you call your summer holidays, we did around the end of July. The whole of August and September, we usually were not in school. So right now the children air and they are having their holidays. Well, because
Yeah, you guys don't. The network is just a kind of a little bit of issue. We will try and see. I guess the key here.
This pandemic and the issue of down, we are very conscious of our children.
Yeah, this is very serious, but at the same time.
Okay, I'm back again now.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
No matter what, I think I can still hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes, ma'am.
That we have done, and a lot of private schools did that. But the question everybody, but what about those in not so plush parts of our nation? What about the children whose parents do not have cell phones? What about those? That I said in our own mission, one of the things I try to arrange with schools, individual schools, because they are the ones who know their children. For example, I know that in for example, Bayelsa State, trying states, and a lot of their children are probably way out in the middle of, what children here in a town would call the middle of nowhere, but they are riverine areas. What the encouragement was, prepare, worksheets and get it to the children, and then the children knows how they know how to get it back to you. So in some cases, we have to encourage them, make worksheets, send out worksheets to the children, because the worksheets they ended up able to do something. It wasn't the very best, but under the circumstance, that was what. And then of course we encourage every child. I would usually hold meetings with my parents and say, listen, 9 o'clock to so time, there are lessons going on XYZ stations. a few of our parents actually followed that. Of course, with us in our school, we actually had a program that had a starting time, had a closing time. We held assemblies with our children online. So we were more or less in school throughout. And we encouraged our parents, because since the parents were themselves at home, I know quite a few of my parents who would actually sit nearby to ensure that their children were following through. And in situations where a child was found to be absent without any proper excuse, my teachers would immediately contact the parents and say, so and so was not in class or did not attend class on so days. And I think our parents really appreciated that, because it meant some of them were the things they were not catching. You know, children, they will turn on they will sign in and then they won't be there. But we had a way of checkmating that. And it has been an interesting experience. I'm for the students and the teachers, as because our teachers too. Thing is, when you're standing in front of a student, when you have to teach a child online, you have to really be on your toes.
Yes.
So
Because
it's challenging.
yeah, very. I remember when the school got closed here, and everybody have to come back home, and my children are just staying out now. They're now staying at home to work with their teachers online. They all have their time whereby they have to log in, and they would do work with the teachers. I realized even every parent here complained, because now it's a lot of work with them. They have to be with them. They have to do the same work with them to make sure everything is done. And students are kind of a little bit being the first time, so it was a little bit challenging with them too as well. Right now the school is back. Some schools have already opened and have their students back in school. Some states says where they have to go back to online schooling, so which is still challenging. Now, my question for you, Nama, is that in future, or will you also consider online schooling alongside with your on-site schooling in future, even after COVID, because of what has happened, in the past, and that anything can happen in such a way as well. Just the same way we have day school and boarding school, and also we also consider online schooling alongside with your
Okay,
on-site.
well, let me get you right. You are talking about the possibility of having to run schools both online and in person.
In
Is that
person.
what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, is it possible to have that kind of thing?
Okay, well, even right now, as I'm here with you, it will be possible depending on the kind of a school. Let me use school as an example. We are a full boarding school. That means I don't have distance. So all my students are in me 24/7 of a term. And so I can set up programming whichever way I want. So there is a good chance, for example, when the SS3s went to school, one of the things government asked us, we had to quarantine them in school to ensure they are well before they could begin to. So one of the things we did was kept them in their very hostels. It was sort of not complete isolation, but because what we did was put two students in a room where they normally would be four, two in a room, and then they work from their teacher. The teacher of the school, the students in their rooms in the hostel, but they have their devices then. They could use their devices, continue to work with them. That is likely to continue when we resume, believing God, government will allow the whole schools, all schools for the new school year before. Now, when it comes, of course, because of the issue of social distancing, we're likely to continue on in some areas. Areas where they still come to the class, we will do that. But very possible that teachers will sit maybe in their office and waiting to them probably, social distance within the process. So this is a possibility. Everyone will all looking into it because it looks if that's going to be normal. So there is very possible. You see, a general demand because government tells me that every child has a device, particularly the children in public schools. Actually, but those in private schools, we're looking into the possibility.
Now, will you consider, as an educator, will you consider what will be your rating when it comes to the online school during the pandemic, and like the program that you ran during the pandemic, where you have an online program for 1 hour? Will you consider that as a kind of thing that the children really enjoy? What kind of feedback do you get from the student with that online program? Is kind of challenging, or do they actually enjoy it?
Well, as a professional educator, while online teaching is okay as a way of ensuring that children are involved in their learning process, I would have to be the only thing that children are using I wouldn't use it to assess children. There are always children who cannot learn unless they are hands-on.
Yeah.
With teacher.
Yeah.
So I would be very, very careful about generalizing that all children are online teaching. For example, at the end of when we finished our online teaching in July, at the end of July, I had a few parents call me in a bit of a panic. And what was their panic? Look, this exam that the children took online, I'm very happy about it because my son was very slow and my daughter was very this, and then he couldn't finish, and he answered one question, he tried to go back, and the computer, all those things have to be factored, whatever decisions we take. So has it been a good, wonderful experience? It has, because this is a generation of children who are, like I always use the language, they are cyber citizens. This is their forte, they enjoy it. But when it comes to the process of learning and then assessment, proper assessment, I wouldn't rely solely on online. So there is something to be said, even as an adult. I've never believed people who say they got their results, their certificates from correspondence. I'm always skeptical about it because there's something to be said for on-campus. If you have never really entered a university premises and all you did was of online work, and then you come out and you tell me you're a graduate, I am most likely going to look at you a bit of skepticism. So I would never, as an editor, rely solely on all the online exam, online testing we have done. It's good as a way of keeping the children, keeping them abreast of their learning, but I wouldn't depend on it completely. I really would rather have my children back to school because there are those, if we're not full, who will fall by the wayside, and I would hate to see that happen. So we must really not, we can't rely on this because you will never be able to get the true test of who a child is from solely online contact with children. It's a good way to keep them busy, keep them occupied, keep them involved. But let's bring them on ground and have actual teaching.
Yeah,
That would be my submission.
Thank you so much, man. Because I know definitely sometimes it might look so easy to just say, okay, I'm attending online class because maybe it's a kind of expedited class, or it might be a class that's kind of easy for you to work, do some other things, and give room for other things. You know, allow you to do some other things while you are still in school. But just as you have said, it's not 100% reliable, or I can say, you know, not everybody enjoy that going to online school. You know, my children did not even, some of them did not even like that online school at all. You know, they want to be in class to actually see what is going on. Likewise, myself, I don't really do too well much on online programs, and I like to be in the class to really see what is going on and ask questions. Now, man, I want to ask this question about in your school. I know you to be somebody that give a very high task for teachers. And because I remember, and I actually experienced that. And you have high demand, and because you want your school to be on a very high standard. Now, what will you say about extra curriculum activities with the parent? I mean, with the school, and how the parent are taking extra curriculum activities. You know, some of the things that you guys call extra curriculum activities in Nigeria are actually part of the school curriculum here. So what will you say about what it's been seen as extra curriculum activities in your school?
Well, I'm not sure. I didn't quite get all you were saying. I know I heard you say something about curricular activities. Could you repeat for me again what exactly you want?
I was asking about the extra curriculum activities in the school. Now, like what people see here as part of the curriculum for the school is what we see in Africa as extra curriculum activities, like somebody playing football, somebody playing music, somebody playing this and that. So they see them as extra curriculum activities in Africa, but here they are part of the curriculum for the school. So what will you say to the parents and to this, or what will you say about that in your school?
Okay, let me try and see if I ever understand you correctly. Well, our school's extracurricular activities in Nigeria are a part of the school curriculum. They're not outside of the curriculum. It's what's prescribed by government. The only difference is that from one school to the next, emphasis will be laid on what they have capacity for. For example, some schools will say, okay, we can't teach with music because we cannot afford the musical instruments. For example, you will find our public schools don't do much about music. Not because it's not a part of what they should teach. They might teach music, you know, in junior school, but they will not be able to teach it beyond a particular level because they might not even be able to afford something as simple as an organ. Okay, if they want to teach the children to play an instrument, one would think the most basic instrument would be to teach them to play the keyboard, and they can't afford a keyboard. But the curriculum, in the national curriculum for music, the children are expected to learn an instrument. So it could be a wind instrument, it could be a string instrument, or the keyboard. So those are all things, they're all within the curriculum. It is how schools develop them. Okay, and that, of course, all comes down to funding. Number one, it also comes down to interest. Number two, for example, at our school, I happen to be the daughter of a sports person, a sportsman. So I would not run a school where sports is not a big deal. And I was very blessed right from the word go in our school to have really gone out and hired very, very well trained sports teachers. And I insisted they must teach the basics. You know, a child wants to do athletics and be a sprinter. You need to teach the child the rudiments. Those are all in the curriculum. But it's how far do you want to take it? Teach football, teach it properly with the rudiments. Because of course, you know, everybody in Nigeria plays football. But do they play by the rules? Do they know the rules? Everybody wants to play basketball. Are they playing it? So depending on the school and the facilities they are able to provide, then the school will go places. At our school at Christ the Redeemer's College, we have states at the national level. Well, we represented our local government, that's Shagamu, and then we went on to states, and from states, we went on to nationals. So we've had children that we've turned out that way. We've had children who have returned to the US and we're making a bid to get basketball scholarships and athletic scholarships because they have a particular event they have learned and are very good at. So we do based on the funding that schools have available. So if it's enough and is able to do a good program, then their schools are able to say, okay, this is what we do. So curriculum is a part of the national curriculum. It's extra because that's what you do on a regular basis inside the classroom. It's a curricula. It's part of what government expects all to have access to. Oh. That answers the question.
Yes, actually, yes, ma'am. Because it was now here that I got to learn about there are some certain things that they have in school that we don't have in Africa. Like let's take for example somebody playing basketball in high school here, or playing basketball from home and is playing the same basketball in high school. Definitely, you know, I know this is not new to you because definitely because you are aware of what goes on here, and I know that you try to actually implement that in Africa, but the mentality that sometimes our parents have in Africa, they see it as a waste of time. So they see that and they let them know you can't be playing football. I decided to start playing football in school. Meanwhile, there are some children that they will get their scholarship through that same sport. I've seen people that got high admission into college or university because of the sport that they are playing. I have people that play music and they play, you know, they've got scholarship through that same music. So because in college too as well, they have that same program that goes on with them. The scholarship will fund them and they will continue their schooling through that means. Is that any
okay, let me help you out with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I get the point. Let me also explain something. You know, way back in the days when schools, we had what we call the Ionian schools in Nigeria. So
yes,
big, the Baptist Academy, the King's College,
yes,
Igbobi, St. Gregory's. Those were the big schools of those days. In the days when they did, I'm trying to remember the name of the cup that the Greer Cup in Lagos in those days. It was just that government have scholarships for students because the Nuga Games was also a very big thing then. But unfortunately for us, and sadly over the years, we've lost all of that, not because sports became less important, but because like most other things you see our priorities stop. Now people think, oh, you know, the only way you can get a scholarship, is there's just too many things going on that shouldn't happen. Now, but those are not the main thing is that those scholarships have all disappeared. There used to be scholarship in those days for students, because I remember in the days of my dad, my father was the coach, the head coach, as it were, or what we call master in King's College in the early 60s. I grew up on King's College premises, my early years. And I remember that the Old Boys Association were very, very keen ensuring that the old boys, the school, the soccer, for example, and I remember the cricket, hockey, those were very big games. And they were not just games that were played lightly. I remember Edo College boys and KC boys battling it out on the cricket field. All of those things in those days were a very big deal. Unfortunately, like I said, we lost some of those glory days. And like you rightly said, some parents will get offended if their child, we are giving accolades to a child for playing football. I've had a parent come to me to warn me to not allow his child to play football, to go and represent the school outside. I've had parents get offended because their child is a very, very vocalist, and we have trained that child's voice, and the child can just is a very good soprano, for example. And the parents are saying, no, that's not what I sent them to school to do. So you've got that parents have a wrong understanding of what all these things are. There is a need, actually, for come back, because at the end of the day, the children also need to have a reawakening of the fact that, sometimes some of these things, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. We teach garment making in our school. And at a point, I brought in a very professional person to come and teach our students in the senior years, the garment making, that course, garment making. Now, to a lot of the children, it was just a skills acquisition thing. They were acquiring a skill. But one particular child was told the mother, this is what I want to study. And fortunately for us, because we have that course and we're teaching it, she had taken quite a few of the courses, and she was. At the end of her studies, the mother insisted, okay, fine, that's what you want, you can go ahead and do it. So she went to Canada to enter a fashion Canada to do a 4-year degree program. And of course, people in Nigeria told the mother the woman was a mad woman for sending her daughter abroad to study fashion design. When everybody does fashion design in Nigeria, don't take it serious. They did not see it as that young woman today has a master's degree in fashion designing, and she's doing excellently well. But you see, she had the root. When she got to the university, they found out after she did the first few tests and she had enough credits based on what she studied in Nigeria. And so I take that with that saved us 1 whole year worth of fees. So, it has to do with individual schools. It has to do with individual parents who need to be enlightened to appreciate the fact that what the children are learning from their skills acquisition classes or from what they are doing during co-curricular activities is not necessarily irrelevant to who the child is going to become, but that it could be exactly what the child needs to build himself or herself up. And that, at the end of the day, a lot of parents really need to be educated So nobody is giving out scholarships in Nigeria for, for music or for being a basketball player. That's why you find that Nigerian students who come into the US to come and play basketball, they would usually come in maybe because a coach in Nigeria saw their potential and helped them to be to get to a point where they at least they have enough basic what is it called? Basic qualification to apply to schools where they have good basketball programs in the US.
Yes.
And then they enter and then begin to look for scholarship. Most of the time, it has to do with each individual person, each individual school, because as a nation, as a school system, it's not a part of what we have been doing, because, like I said, it's all about we don't have the money.
Yeah, it's true, and
it always comes back to that, doesn't
it? Thank you so much, man. Then I want to ask you, man. I remember when I joined the school, when I joined your school, man. My experience, back, the kind of experience that I had, or the kind of notion that I had with boarding school, based on the boarding school that I went to, I vowed that none of my children will ever go to boarding school again in my life. And with the method of teaching in Nigeria too, or in Africa, two things I want to ask. In that place, until I got to CRC, I realized, okay, you can actually teach you can actually discipline a child without using cane. So I see that place as a cane. During that time, it was a kind of caneless school, but still full of discipline. Caneless school full of discipline, and it also changed my mind about the boarding school. Now, what do you do to maintain that the children and the staff are disciplined without using cane, to really, discipline children in school?
Okay, well, like I said, coming into the child, understand the fact that these children are made in the image of God and they must be respected. Having said that, children will children. And so you need to get to the point where children learn to respect themselves so that they are respected in return. In Christ Redeemer's College, we have a lot of laid down policy and procedures which teachers have to follow and which the students themselves have to follow. And when those procedures, consequences to these procedures, if they are not met, and over the years, I always tell parents, of course, that I said, look, it's a Christian school, so I do not disparage the use of the rod. The only problem is that I'm the only person who can use a rod. So my teachers know that they cannot use it. They will not be allowed to use it. Yes, we're a Christian school. Every aspect of the Bible is a part of what we're using. However, for academic reasons and for professional reasons, you don't want to hand it because it could lead to abuse. But then even on my part, I always tell the parents, I say, listen, yeah, I'm willing to use the rod if I'm led to use the rod. But it's very, very rarely these days that I bother to use it because we've got to the point where the children, we are discipling the children. I always tell the teachers, you want to discipline a child, be prepared to disciple him. We don't talk about punishment anymore because I feel that was the way we were trained as teachers. Teachers will punish a child. But like I've taught my teachers, it is only if you have good classroom discipline, your children, good classroom management, your students will be disciplined because they'll be all about the work that needs to be done. So we have trained our children almost from the very first day of school to work on the standard that we set for them from the beginning. There are procedures there's a way to meet that procedure and maintain the discipline required. Because like I say to the children or to my teachers now, if you decide that a child needs to be disciplined, you're going to, number one, you're going to discipline that child in love. And what that calls for is the child needs to be discipled. So are you ready for that discipling? Because it's going to be easier to just simply say, go and do this dirty work or go and do that punishment or that, as opposed to you want to follow up the child and say, look, child, this thing you're doing is not acceptable. I can show you a better way. And then you have to take the time to put the child through the process of knowing what it is you say you want the child to learn. So it's not about punishment anymore. It's about discipling the children. And by the grace of God, for us to be able to do that, we've had to retrain and reorientate our teachers, because it's not easy. They were not trained that way. The training, like I said, we all got secular training, but now we are in God's kingdom and we have to do things a lot differently than we did before. So it's not been easy, but we're working on it and we're getting there. Children are disciplined because right from the get-go, there's a procedure, there's a process that they learn.
Yeah, then if you look at this, we'll talk about the teacher and student relationship about in terms of discipline. What about the school, the student themselves? When it gets dark, the relationship between the student themselves, back in those days, still back in boarding school that I went to, and I realized during that time, there are a lot of things the way students maltreat themselves, bullying themselves, flagging one of, all kind of things that are happening in the dorms. The way the senior ones will maltreat the junior ones. Bullying is just is a word that's kind of rampant in our days. Now, what have you done, Matt, to curtail that issue of bullying among students?
On bullying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, the thing about bullying is, like I always tell people, bullying is, no child was born a bully. We must get that straight. Bullying is a learned behavior. This child who comes to your school bullying other children, learn that behavior from. Now, I always tell my teachers, training for my teachers, three people involved, and all three of them must be in any bullying situation in our. The first person, of course, is itself. A bully is a behavioral problem made that child, or as that child has turned into a bully because there is something going on in his or her life dealt with. So that child will not just be left, you're a bad boy, you're doing this. And then, of course, the child that is being bullied also has that child's problem is very emotional. It's an emotional issue. And that, I don't know if you've ever noticed that usually the children that are bullied most of the time are always going to be the same of children. The same child that child B is picking on, that child Z will pick on, that that same child will always be picked upon. There is a reason. Why does that child have the bullies? That child needs help. Now, the group of children, the third party in any bullying situation, any child in our school who is what time most person who is probably going to be, because like the children, the word of God is very, you are your brother's keeper. Now you are in a room full of other students, or in a where we don't have dormitories, we actually have rooms, and or wherever you are, another child is being picked upon, tormented, and you as one individual, you kept quiet. You did not offer help to the child being tormented. The fact that you are a bystander in any bullying will be sanctioned first. The other two people I can deal with, I will help them immediately. But you, the bystander, you are even more a culprit to other people. The behavior problem child cannot help himself. One being tormented has a problem, cannot help himself. But you, the bystander, why are you standing there watching another child? It took a while for my parents to understand this, because I would have situations and the ones are being sanctioned and the others are being counseled, and the parents will come. But my daughter didn't do anything. She was just, and I said, that's a problem. She shouldn't have been standing. She could have done one of two things. Number one, pick up for the child being bullied. Number two, bring in an adult. You are not the one being punished. So run and go and call someone. Hey, help. Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So, please come and help. You are doing what is expected of you as a child of God. So in our school, now knows. And no child will know that you must have learned this bullying maybe from your daddy or your mommy. They don't want to. They are very, very because parents also all know now. If your child is cool and is being a bully, hello,
yes, ma'am.
I am going to hold you, the parent, responsible. Because you can't tell me, oh, but he doesn't do this in school. He doesn't do this at home. There is nothing in school that will child's bullying if he hasn't already learned how to at home. So bullying at our school, a lot of, we constantly do trainings and we hold seminars and lectures to enlighten parents, to enlighten themselves. Because a lot of students don't know, they feel by keeping quiet, at least they're of trouble. Tell them no. If God asked Cain, where is your brother? And he gave him that, am I my brother's keeper? God expects us to be our brother. So that we always want to take our lessons from a biblical, and bullying, from the gate, you see states, this is a bully-free zone. It's not acceptable at all. It's not tolerated. But beyond that, we go the extra mile to ensure that every child is safe. Bullying might be, and you will not know. And the more we have, the children are free to come and let you know, openly discuss these issues. We've had less incident of bullying. Because I'm not going to tell you it doesn't happen, because that would not be true. Wherever you have children, there's always the one child who wants to, but this whole business of, the whole issue of bullying is about power. One child is going to want to usurp power over another. But we try to work on it. But like I said, it's a matter of training everybody to recognize the issues involved in bullying, and then we take it from there. Another group of students have gotten together are those they take action. We give them an assignment, we train them, and they help the college management to identify pockets of bullying behavior that we may not see. So for us, I want to believe we're managing it.
Yeah, there's a question somebody asked me right now, and it might not be just only for your school, but for everyone watching and all the other schools around, saying
okay,
there is a missionary schools, are they only for the rich? Or what about the less privileged? Do they consider the less privileged? I know there are some people that want to be in private, since the public school, government schools and public schools have failed us. And the only saving grace that we have right now should only be private schools and Christian schools. So don't you think the less privileged are being marginalized?
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
That's Femi.
Yes, ma'am.
As you well know, we belong to a mission, RCCG.
Yes, ma'am.
By the grace of God, let me first of all say that mission schools are for people, because the purpose of a mission school goes beyond just educating the children. Schools are meant to be evangelistic if they know their purpose, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not about money now. It's about, we need to get to the souls of people. We need to get to the children before the enemy gets to them. Now, so if that is the platform on which we establish our schools, I like the fact that, my father in the Lord, our father in the Lord, Daddy E. Adeboye, the mandate he gave to his pastors is establish schools. So if your school is in the city, then definitely establish a city school. If your city school is in the village, establish a village school. But the key is to make sure it has a standard. That is why the Christ Redeemer Management, which is led by our mother in the Lord, Mommy Folu, has a minimum standard that we expect of all, regardless of where they are. Whether the school is in a displaced camp in Maiduguri, or in a riverine village, set up somewhere inside Bonny Island, or in Victoria Island in Lekki, they must maintain at least a standard that people will recognize this is a camp school, providing children with quality education. Now, what will cost? The cost should the cost that the people in your neighborhood, able to afford it. Provide those in your neighborhood, not for anybody else. So what has happened is that children in our schools, with children in school everywhere, and when we gather, we used to have a gathering of once a year when we gathered. Initially, when we hadn't standardized things, people would come and say, hey, they took children out like this. We began to worry about, are they being properly taught? So we began to train teachers so that whether your school is village or not, we have schools in our system where the school fee, Pastor Femi, is 1,000 naira. They are smart in the middle of places, even within. There are some schools in some parts of Lagos that can completely free. We refer to those as the mission schools, or what you want, because I write a niche field where the people of that area cannot afford it. I know there are family. They start a school, some Makoko. I don't know if you know where Makoko is. Makoko is a slum. It's a riverine place. A lot of those children on the water in the lagoon decided that they were going to go and carry out their civic duties, their corporate responsibility activities. And to school. The parents do not pay for a penny. The children get uniforms, they get shoes, they get food, and they are in school, and they are being taught by teachers. That is one aspect. For example, our school, when the mandate we were given was establish a system that was standard of one of the highest paying schools in the country at the time. That was the school our father in the gave, the matching orders he gave the board of governors at a school like that, because I'm expecting that my partners and my pool in that who would want to send their children home need to have a place that would be equivalent to my college. Was a mandate high state, and to the glory of God, I believe we have met that, and we're continuing to meet it. But then there are other schools in the reading system that the parents pay anything, and they're still getting quality. So what am I trying to say to you? It is, you see, people cannot look at schools and say, Christian, this schools are very expensive. People actually say that. And redeemed schools are very expensive, but that's because talking is not looking at the standard. We have set up some people, like when I first came into the gym, there was some, but hey, let's face it, then we have the model parishes, and the model parishes was where most of us ended up it. And I'm sure if I had got the old what is it called now? I probably wouldn't have come. I may not have come back, for instance. So it's the same with school. There is a table in grades. People need to appreciative of that. We're trying to provide for all cadres of society, and everyone can plug into whichever one they want. The only thing I can assure is that CRSM, that is the schools management, all of these schools are being a standard that is acceptable. Their environment is where they are, that's who they are there. But when you look at that environment and you look at that particular school, you see that school will be a standard above every other school in the neighborhood. And that's what we're trying to achieve, that children, if they want a Christian school to attend, they should find one. If mine is too expensive, I can give ours. And if those ones are still too expensive, there are still others yet. Years ago, I visited our schools, like I said, in Adamawa State, in Yola. Yes. But that school now hasn't gone over 1,000.
Wow. Wow.
And they get paid. And their teachers are graduates. And what they pay their teachers, I said to myself, nobody in Lagos will even look at you. The cleaner you want to take in won't collect what the teacher, not because that's what you want to pay the teachers, but for the locality. And for the school fees that was 3 away, the church was having to beg the parents, children to come to, especially the girl child. So wherever we have found and our schools. We've tried to live within this the culture of the environment. I was in Bonny Island before the lockdown, and I was just so happy. So we had some very big schools, the art schools, and but there were two different schools, and I can't even tell you. And yet that was an oil.
Wow.
But these schools were in the middle of water. Where is the environment? Trying to fit the culture of the environment where you are trying to reach the people. And then, of course, there are schools like ours that are meant to be, you know, for those diaspora. So it is not. It's nothing. We're just trying to do what for Jesus.
Thank you so much, man. Just before I let you go, man. Now your school is coming back. Is resuming back.
I can't hear you.
I said
Sorry?
Before I let you go, man. So
Yes.
when the school is getting, will be reopened. Are you planning to have like social distancing, mask wearing, washing of hands, and everything?
Social distancing in school?
Yes.
We already have it in place.
Okay.
Like I said, we have SS3 right now. Yes, a good thing because we've been practicing with them. So we are doing social distancing in the dining hall, like I said, in our hostel. By the grace of God, we have enough space. Students normally are home anyway, but now we have the SS2s, 3s. We have only 2 to a room. When the rest of the school come, we can still maintain in a room and still feel safe. Area, instead of about 8 students to a table, we can have just 4. And very big in the first place, because our build, they were not originally purpose built, but in restructuring them, they turned out to be bigger than a standard classroom. So we can actually do very good distance. Anyway, my classes never run above 20. So there's plenty of room to spread out. Everywhere, we have a large, premises. So students can actually sit outside to learn. That's what the teacher decides to do. We have always encouraged that anyway. And then, of course, we always had created an isolation units of it, the infrared and wash hand basin, sanitizers. For all of that, we are ready.
Yes.
We are actually COVID-19 compliant.
Yes, thank you so much, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I just want to thank you for listening to this particular episode. I don't know if you are in Nigeria or you are abroad. I can tell you one of the schools that I can guarantee you that you can take your child to is one of these schools, because I've been there. As I said earlier, when I got to CRC, my mentality changed about boarding school. When talk of discipline, is highly disciplined, and when talk about education, they are of high standard. And I can tell you, you don't know the capacity that your child has until you put them in that school, and you will see a new transformation. The school is a standard school that will accommodate anybody from, either you are from abroad and you are home, and you can look for that school, and I can tell you, you will see good result of your children when they get to that school. No matter how bad that child is, when they get to that school, they'll be, they turn out to be good. Yeah, I can say a lot about that place. So for anyone looking for any school for your child, I can tell you, visit that CRC, that Christ Redeemer's College in Christ Hill, Shagamu, Ogun State in Nigeria. And I want to thank our pastor, our dearly principal, dynamic woman of God, Pastor Omo-osagie, who has put more light into all the questions that we have in our mind, in our heart, and what's also going on with the nation. Thank you so much, man, for coming this morning or this evening in your time. And I really appreciate all your answers and all your explanation to what people might be facing as challenge. And I pray as the school resumes, everything will work well, everything will run smoothly, and it will be well with you and the ministry in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you so much, man, for coming. And maybe when I get to Nigeria, I look forward to a day when I come to Nigeria, and I will be able to, maybe school is in session. Maybe I should ask this question. If I bring do you have any program like like a tryout program? When I say tryout, maybe I have my children came for vacation in Nigeria, and happen to be maybe 1 or 2 weeks in your school, just for them to try education system out in Nigeria. All right. Well, anyway, we have come to the end of this program, but and I want to thank our pastor for coming to now to this.
I'm the one, but I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. You can hear me. Okay, I was asking, do you have like a tryout class? Tryout class for children. Just I was giving an example of having my children to come to Nigeria maybe during vacation time, and they want to try out the school system. Maybe they will be able to like it. Before they go back. Oh, all right.